You can feel it, even in the silence. Something about the way she disappeared doesn't feel like indifference. It feels heavier than that, colder, but somehow still warm underneath. Like a door that was slammed shut, yet the light behind it is still on. And that's what confuses you. Because if she truly didn't care, she would simply vanish. No tension, no strange signals, no lingering energy in the air when her name appears on your phone or crosses your mind at night. But instead, something about her distance feels intentional, like she's holding back something she refuses to show. Here's the truth most men never realize. When a woman misses you too much, sometimes the last thing she will do is admit it. Not because she doesn't feel it, but because feeling it gives you power. And power is something she's terrified of losing. Before we dive deeper into this hidden psychology, welcome to Female Code Unlocked, the channel where we decode the unspoken emotions, silent signals, and psychological truths behind female behavior. If you want to understand what women really feel, even when they never say it out loud, make sure you subscribe and join us. Because what you're about to understand today might completely change the way you read her silence. Now here's something strange about human emotions. When someone barely cares about you, their absence feels clean. There's no emotional residue, no confusion, no late night wondering. But when someone misses you deeply while trying to hide it, their behavior becomes contradictory. You start noticing strange patterns. She doesn't reach out, yet somehow she never fully disappears. Days go by with silence, but then suddenly she reacts to something small. Maybe a story, maybe a post, maybe a message that seems casual but feels loaded with meaning. It's like she's standing just outside the door, pretending she walked away. And if you've experienced this, you probably felt that strange emotional pull. One moment you think she's over you. The next moment something small reminds you she's still paying attention. This is the first hidden sign she misses you more than she wants to admit. She keeps indirect access to your world. Not direct conversation, not obvious effort, but subtle presence. Because when a woman misses you deeply, curiosity becomes impossible to kill. She wants to know if you moved on. She wants to know if someone else replaced her. She wants to know if you still think about her, the same way she secretly thinks about you. But here's where the psychology becomes darker. Admitting that curiosity would mean admitting emotional vulnerability. And vulnerability feels like surrender. So instead, she chooses the safer path. Distance with observation. Imagine someone standing across the street from your house every night, watching the lights turn on and off, but refusing to knock. That's exactly what emotional pride looks like. And women who feel things deeply often hide it the most. Not because they are cold, but because the depth of their feelings scares them. When a woman truly misses you, you become a mirror for emotions she's trying to control. Memories appear at random moments. A song you once shared, a place you both visited, even something as simple as a joke that only the two of you understood. And suddenly the mind travels backwards. But instead of texting you, she fights the impulse. Because the moment she reaches out, she risks reopening everything. And sometimes, pretending to move on feels easier than facing feelings that never fully disappeared. But this is only the surface of what happens inside her mind. Because the second sign she misses you deeply is even more subtle, and most men completely misunderstand it. In fact, many men mistake it for rejection, when in reality, it's emotional self-protection. And once you understand this behavior, you'll start seeing her actions in a completely different light. Sometimes, the clearest signs are hidden inside the behaviors that confuse you the most. Because when a woman misses you deeply but refuses to admit it, her actions begin to carry two opposite emotions at the same time: pull and resistance, warmth and distance. And this is where many men misread the situation completely. They see the distance and assume the feelings are gone. But what they're actually witnessing is emotional self-defense. Think about this for a moment. When someone truly stops caring about you, they become emotionally neutral. Your name doesn't trigger anything inside them anymore. No tension, no reaction, no need to protect their feelings. But when someone still feels something powerful, your presence becomes dangerous. Not physically dangerous, but emotionally. Because seeing you, hearing from you, or even thinking about you can bring back memories she tried very hard to bury. And when emotions are intense, people don't always move closer. Sometimes they step back. This is the second hidden sign she misses you more than she'll ever admit. She creates distance that feels colder than a situation actually is. Maybe she replies late. Maybe she keeps conversations short. Maybe she acts overly calm, almost as if nothing ever mattered. But underneath that calm surface, something else is happening. Her mind is working overtime to stay in control. Because the moment she lets her guard down, the emotions she's hiding might spill out. And that's exactly what she's trying to avoid. You see, when a woman has strong feelings for someone who once mattered deeply in her life, those feelings don't simply disappear. They transform, sometimes into nostalgia, sometimes into frustration, sometimes into a quiet longing she doesn't know what to do with. And this is why you might notice something strange. Even when she's distant, she still reacts to certain things you do. Maybe you post a picture looking happy. Maybe you seem like you're moving forward with your life. Suddenly, there's a reaction. Not always obvious, but subtle. A view, a like, a message that seems casual but appears at a moment that feels intentional. This happens because missing someone creates an emotional paradox. Part of her wants to stay away so she can heal, but another part of her is still emotionally connected to the story you two shared. And stories like that are not easy to erase, especially when the connection once felt meaningful. Here's something even deeper most people never realize. Women often process emotional attachment through memory. Details that men forget quickly stay alive in her mind much longer. The way you made her laugh, the way you looked at her when she spoke, even the small habits you had that she once found annoying but secretly grew attached to, those details create emotional echoes. And when she misses you, those echoes come back in quiet moments, late at night, during long drives, or in those random seconds when something reminds her of you and she suddenly stops scrolling her phone. But instead of reaching out, she sits with the feeling, because contacting you would mean acknowledging that the connection still exists inside her. And sometimes, pride is stronger than longing. But there's a third sign that reveals something even more powerful. It's subtle, it's psychological, and if you notice it, you'll realize that her silence might not mean she's moved on at all. In fact, it might mean the opposite. There's a moment most men overlook, a moment so quiet that if you're not paying attention, it slips right past you. But psychologically, it reveals everything. Because when a woman misses you deeply while pretending she doesn't, her emotions don't disappear. They leak out in small, controlled ways, almost like pressure escaping through tiny cracks. And this brings us to the third sign: she misses you far more than she's willing to admit. She creates reasons to stay emotionally connected without making it obvious. On a surface, her behavior looks casual. Maybe she sends a random message about something small, a meme, a question that doesn't really need to be asked, a comment about something you once talked about months ago. To an outsider, it seems meaningless. But to someone who understands emotional psychology, these small moments carry a hidden intention: connection. Because when someone truly lets go of you, they stop creating bridges back into your world. But when someone still feels something, they leave doors slightly open, not wide open, just enough so they can step through if the moment feels right. You might notice that sometimes she brings up memories from the past, not directly romantic ones, but small shared experiences. A place you both went, a joke that only the two of you understood, a random topic that suddenly appears out of nowhere. And for a brief moment, it feels like the old energy between you returns. Then suddenly, she pulls back again. Conversation slows down. The distance comes back. And you're left wondering what just happened. What you just experienced is emotional hesitation. Her heart moved forward for a second, but her mind quickly pulled the brakes. Because reopening emotional connections carries risk. Risk of disappointment, risk of vulnerability, risk of realizing she still cares more than she wanted to. And this internal conflict creates the strange emotional rhythm many men experience. Close, then distant. Warm, then quiet. Present, then gone again. It's not manipulation the way people often assume. It's emotional protection. Because when someone once had the power to affect your heart deeply, reconnecting with them can feel like walking back into a storm you barely survived the first time. So she tests the waters carefully. Small messages, small reactions, small moments of connection, watching how you respond without fully exposing how she feels. But there's one final sign that reveals the truth more clearly than anything else. And it's something you only notice when you stop chasing and start observing. Because when a woman truly misses you, your absence begins to affect her behavior in ways she didn't expect. And that's where the deepest psychological shift begins. There's a moment, a quiet shift, that reveals more truth than any words ever could. It happens when you stop chasing. When you stop trying to decode every small signal, stop forcing conversations, stop filling the silence she created. At first, the silence feels uncomfortable, almost like standing in a room where the lights suddenly went out. But psychologically, this is the moment everything changes. Because when a woman misses you deeply but hides it, she unconsciously expects one thing from you: persistence. She expects you to keep reaching out, to keep asking, to keep showing that you're still emotionally invested in the connection. And when that suddenly stops, her mind begins asking questions she was avoiding before. Why did he stop? Did he move on? Is he thinking about someone else now? You see, absence doesn't just create distance. It creates curiosity. And curiosity is one of the strongest emotional triggers in human psychology. When someone becomes less predictable, their value in our mind often increases. Suddenly, the story feels unfinished. And humans hate unfinished emotional stories. This is why sometimes the moment you finally step back is the moment she starts moving closer again. Maybe she watches your stories more often. Maybe she reacts to something you post. Maybe she sends a message that feels surprisingly warm compared to the distance she showed before. Not because you manipulated her emotions, but because your absence removed the emotional pressure she was resisting. Now the connection feels safe to revisit. But here's the deeper truth that very few people understand. When a woman truly misses you, the strongest signal is not always what she says. It's the emotional energy she can't completely disconnect from. Even when she tries to move forward, something about you still occupies space in her mind. Maybe it's the way you made her feel understood. Maybe it's the emotional intensity you shared. Maybe it's the fact that the connection between you two felt rare, and rare things are difficult to replace. People often assume that moving on means forgetting. But psychologically, that's rarely how emotions work. Most of the time, people simply learn to live with feelings they never fully resolved. They carry them quietly, hidden beneath daily routines, conversations with other people, and new experiences. But sometimes, those feelings resurface. Not loudly, not dramatically, just small moments. A thought, a memory, a sudden curiosity about what you're doing now. And that's the strange truth about human connection. When something once mattered deeply, it rarely disappears completely. It simply changes shape. So if you're wondering whether she misses you but hides it, remember this. Don't only listen to her words. Observe the contradictions, the subtle attention, the quiet emotional pull that still exists between the lines. Because sometimes, the loudest feelings are the ones people try hardest to hide. And once you understand these hidden patterns, you stop chasing answers. Instead, you start recognizing them. If this opened your eyes to the deeper psychology of female behavior, make sure you subscribe to Female Code Unlocked. Because here, we don't just talk about attraction. We uncover the emotions people are too afraid to say out loud. And once you see these truths, you'll never read silence the same way again. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever felt that someone was hiding their true feelings for you? Because sometimes, the most powerful emotions are the ones that stay unspoken.